Purushottama Shri Radhika Krishna Vilasa Sindhu Nimajjita Shri Lanarottamasya Pate Devashtakam Yetaduchai Asautvadiyam Padavim Prayati Nayanam Galadashrudhare Vadanam Gatgataruddhaya Gira Ulakair Nichitair Vapukadam Tavanam Grahanim Pavish Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Tadhapi Kirtayami Anga Yadamatim Yadashritam Kirtim Harim Swam Satkartum Giram Anyavidasatim Stitir Seva Katiryatra Smatischinta Stutirvacha Bhuyat Sarvat Mana Vishnu Maityam Tvaicheshti Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jaya Gita Upanishad ki Jaya Gita Upanishad Sakshat, it has come from the lotus mouth of Lord Hari, Lord Krishna. So, dear devotees, we'll go ahead. Bhagavad Gita. So, what did we hear so far? Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, we heard what the significance of have to mute. Yes, thank you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, we heard about the significance of Bhagavad Gita and the summary of Bhagavad Gita. And then first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Now we will hear about the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The whole third chapter in 1 hour. Third chapter in 1 hour. So in the first chapter, we heard about Arjuna's reasons of why not to do his duty as a Kshatriya, why not to fight. After that, Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna because he is indecisive of what his duty is. So the second chapter starts with surrendering of Arjuna to Lord Krishna. And then Lord Krishna gives the reasons of why Arjuna should do his duty, the fighting. And when he gives those reasons as a part of the answer to the first reason of compassion for his relatives, Lord Krishna says, you're not going to kill their souls. The souls cannot be killed. It's only the body that is killed, and you will be doing a favor to them, because when you kill their bodies, you are relieving them from their burden of their sins. Like that, he gives the counter reasons to Arjuna's reasons of why not to fight. Okay. So after that, it is established that Arjuna has to do his duty as Kshatriya, that he has to fight. And then Lord Krishna starts speaking. Okay, Arjuna, now that you know you have to fight, I will tell you how to fight. You should be a Nishkama Karma Yogi. So on that topic, Lord Krishna is continuing to speak. He spoke about what Nishkama Karma Yoga means in the second chapter. And what is Nishkama Karma Yoga? He started speaking in the second chapter. We will hear more in the third chapter now. What is Nishkama Karma Yoga? And how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. These topics were touched in the second chapter, and they will be continued today in the third chapter. Also in the second chapter, there was a description about Sthita Prajna. How to be internally be a Sthita Prajna while doing our duty or seva outside. That was explained in the second chapter. So, at the end of the second chapter, Lord Krishna says, Oh Arjuna, that's why dure nahi avaram karma, buddhi yoga dhananjaya. Buddhav sharanam anvicha, kripana phalahetava. He says that. Krishna says that to Arjuna. Dure nahi avaram karma, buddhi yoga dhananjaya. So Dhananjaya, Arjuna, keep the abominable Dure nahi avaram karma. Keep this abominable attitude of fruitative work far at distance. And buddhi yoga. Buddha sharanam anvicha. Take shelter of buddhi. So this was the message that Lord Krishna gave at the very end of the second chapter. Dure nahi avaram karma. Put the fruitative work far at the distance and be situated in buddhi yoga. Then Arjuna's question. Krishna, did you just say that Buddhi Yoga is better than fruitative work? Do you still want me to fight Krishna? That's the question that Arjuna asks. And that's the opening question of the third chapter. Oh, here still Arjuna is thinking, Krishna, you said fruitative work is not good. Keep it at distance. But Arjuna is not realizing that it is fruitative work, the work that is done with expectation of the result, that is to be put aside. That's what Lord Krishna said. But he did not say put aside the work. But Arjuna doesn't get it because Arjuna doesn't want to fight. Same, our case is also the same. We hear the same thing every day. It's same purport. Srila Prabhupada says one thing, say again and again, same purport. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Same thing. Every purport, every page. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita lecture, everywhere. It's difficult for us to get it right. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We still didn't get it. Otherwise, why would we compete with the Lord? Take control like that. So we haven't gotten it. Same is the case. Arjuna doesn't want to fight. So even when Krishna is saying, take shelter of the intelligence and put the fruitive work away. So this confused Arjuna for his own reason. So the third chapter starts like that. Can you be clear, Krishna? Do I fight? Or do I just be situated in Buddha Sharanam Anvicha, in the intelligence? Can you make this clear, Krishna, please? So that's how the third chapter starts. And today what we are going to hear is, as the answer. In this answer, there are answers for our own benefit. To that particular question, Lord Krishna answers why he has to fight. Again, why to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yeah. And how he should fight. How to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. So it's more like a continuation of the second chapter. And at the very end, Lord Krishna, in response to Arjuna's question of why is it somebody does not want to do their occupational duty, even though they know that it is their duty. To that, Lord Krishna answers that it is lust. It's the lust that keeps a person away from doing occupational duty. So he explains about the lust there. So in broad, we will be hearing about these three topics. These three topics. Why to do Nishkama Karma Yoga? How to do Nishkama Karma Yoga? What is it that stops someone to do Nishkama Karma Yoga? These are the three broad topics, dear devotees. But children, if you are hearing, and for the adults also, the points that we can note here is, in how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga, why? Yes, the Lord says, but in how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga, these are the points the Lord Krishna is going to touch and can be very helpful to us. What points is he going to touch? How to do Nishkama Karma Yoga? It should be like a sacrifice. First point. Second one is to set an example. And the third one is to be a Tattvadarshi. Practice bhakti from an intellectual platform. Tattvadarshi. Don't be swayed away by the mind. And the next one is, while you practice your devotional service, engage others, dovetail others' propensity. So here beautifully Lord Krishna explains one by one of how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. So we will hear about all those details, and I'll enumerate all of them again at the end when we do the summary of the class. So now, third chapter. We will be entering into the third chapter. It's very nice. Again, I want to bring to your attention, dear devotees, how is this third chapter useful to us? It will give us deeper insights and emphasis on how to conduct ourselves internally while we do the service outside. So the building blocks, the bricks are given. Very useful for us. Very useful in sadhana bhakti. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to share the screen with you, dear devotees. Screen share. There you go, third chapter. Nishkama Karma Yoga or Karma Yoga. So these will be the topics that will be touched today. We'll get back to this again at the end. So this was Arjuna's question. Krishna, if you think intelligence is better than fruitive work, do you still want me to fight, Krishna? Then Lord Krishna's response to Arjuna. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrit karyate hi avashah karma sarvah prakritir jair gunaihi. Arjuna, nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrit. Any living entity, not even for a kshanam, not even for a moment, there is no living entity that does not do any karma, any activity. Because living means it has to breathe. Even breathing is also activity. Even to sustain their prana, one has to do the activity. And to nourish their body, and they have to do the activity of eating. So these are all basic activities. So there is no living entity that does not do any karma. So there is no question whether to do karma or not, whether to do action or not. Action has to be done. And not doing action, that is, being inactive, is unnatural, Arjuna. And why is Lord Krishna saying this? Because Arjuna's question was, you said, Buddha Sharanam Anvicha. So just be situated in your buddhi, in your intelligence. He already said, Arjuna, that I'll go to the forest and I'll just simply meditate. I will not fight. So he already said that. And a response to that reason, Lord Krishna is saying that inaction is unnatural. Whatever the natural propensity of a person, they are impelled to act. You are a Kshatriya. You are impelled to act in a Kshatriya way. You are impelled to fight, to have that tendency within you. So it's unnatural just not to do it. By the way, restraining the senses. Yeah, you are saying that you will go to forest and take up sannyasa. Sannyasa is not doing any activity. Actually, sannyasa is traditional meaning of sannyasa is one who doesn't light the fire. In other words, they just beg. They don't cook. They don't light the fire. In other words, their activities are very minimal, very minimal. And they dwell in the forest. So like that, in traditional way, sannyasi means. So Lord Krishna is saying, so you wanted to do karma sannyasa and wanted to go in the forest, right? And just sit and meditate. But you see, you may sit and meditate and you may not do this fighting, this war. You may not be doing your occupational duty, but you will be thinking about it when you sit and meditate. So your senses will be still active. Then that is pretension. Being in a sannyasi dress means there shouldn't be any agitation of the senses. But if your senses are still active, you will be a pretender. So what's the point of going to the forest, doing karma sannyasa? In other words, not fighting the war. It's best to control the mind, to control the senses by mind, and do your action without expectation of result. In other words, it's best that you just do your occupational duty as a Kshatriya, fight the battle without expecting the result. So this is better. This Lord Krishna said to Arjuna. And for us, dear devotees, how does in this day and age, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says many times how just people sometimes they just accept saffron cloth, so they can shun the responsibility, family responsibility, and just depend on the society. So that is rejected. That concept is rejected. That concept is discouraged. When the senses are still active, one cannot take sannyasa. And also for us as devotees, how is that pertinent? See, we hear about, there are Vaishnavas. There are Vaishnavas, different kinds of Vaishnavas are there. Different sampradayas are there, different paramparas are there. So when we hear somebody, Babaji in Vrindavan, he sits in Vrindavan and he chants from morning till evening, 64 times 3, like Haridas Thakur. So somebody chants like that from morning till evening for 20 hours. And when we hear this, if we kind of jump into trying to do that kind of action of chanting morning till evening, can we really do that when our senses are so active? We may be holding the bead bag and we may be sitting, we will not be even able to sit for 20 hours. Forget about sitting. We'll start to walk, we'll start to read, we'll start to walk, we'll start to eat, we'll start to do things because the senses are active. But even if somebody chooses not to do all that and sit, they will still not be able to meditate. They may restrain themselves. So that's why Srila Prabhupada has encouraged everybody to serve. Keep the service going on, keep the action going on. Until the senses calm down, keep the actions going on, keep the services going on. And when the senses are calming down, then the action will automatically go on because you don't want to stop serving Krishna. But the point here is when the senses are active, when the Rajoguna, passion is so active in the body, we should keep the senses engaged in the service of Krishna and the body engaged in the service of Krishna. If we don't do that, we will engage the senses and body in the service of Maya. That will automatically happen. So, as Srila Prabhupada has instructed, better to engage the body and senses in the seva. Okay. So, that's what Lord Krishna said. Arjuna, so being a sannyasi for you will be a pretension. So, please go ahead, do the war with no attachment to the results. And now Lord Krishna starts speaking. Now that he said, yes, it is your duty to do your occupational duty now, not being a pretender, taking sannyas. Now that Lord Krishna said, you have to do the war, the Lord is now going to say how to do it. Here, the first thing the Lord is going to emphasize is how our duty, even if it is a naimittika dharma, responsibility related to this body as a mother, father, any relationship, any responsibility, any naimittika dharma or nitya dharma, even in our bhakti, nitya dharma is bhakti. In the seva also, how to do it in the mood of a sacrifice. So that will be stressed. That's the first thing in how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga or how to do Sadhana Bhakti. Yajnathat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanah tadardham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samacharam yajna shishta sanasanto muchyante sarva kilbishai bhunjate tvagham papa ye pachanti atma karana. These are the verses that remind us, that instruct us that we have to do our responsibility and our seva as a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. Yajnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So beautiful. Yajnarthat karmano. All the karmas are meant to be yajnarthat, as yajna to Lord Vishnu. They are meant to be like that. Anyatra, if not, lokoyam karma bandhanaha. It will cause karma bandha, bondage to all the loka, the people. Karma means it is supposed to be a sacrifice, pleasing to Lord Vishnu. Otherwise, it will bind a person with karma bandhana. Tadardham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. That's why, O Kaunteya, do your dharma as an offering to Lord Vishnu. So do the war as an offering to the Lord. After saying that, Lord Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, when the creation, in the very beginning, the demigods were created, the men were created, along with all that, sacrifices were created too. So all the men used to do the sacrifices to the demigods. In this way, the sacrifices were to please the demigods. And in turn, the demigods used to please the men with the rain and with the resources. So in this way, Lord has set up this material world with the principle of sacrifice, yajna. Sacrifice means I am working for your pleasure. This is for your pleasure, not for my pleasure. So a karma has to be performed like that, with sacrifice as a principle. Yajna shishta shinasanto muchyante sarva kilbishahai bhunjate tu agam papa ye pachanti atma karanat. What happens if somebody decides to just do their duty or their service for their liking? What happens if that is done? Yajna shishtashanas santo muchyante sarva kilbishahai bhunjate tvagam papa ye pachanti atma karanat. The santas, the devotees, sadhus, they only take the remnants of the yajna. When somebody takes the remnants of the yajna, then muchyante sarva kilbishahai. All the sins that they have accumulated, muchyante, they will be destroyed. When somebody accepts only the remnants of yajna, then their sins are vanquished. As opposed to who wants to not perform the sacrifice, but just do the action for their own happiness. If somebody is performing the action, work for their own happiness, it is simply eating their own sins. Bhunjate tu agam papa ye pachanti atmakaranat. Atmakaranat is for sense gratification, for their own self. When the work is done like that, then bhunjate tu agam papa, they are eating their own sins. So if we take an example here, so if we take a responsibility, say parents raising the children, that is a naimittika dharma. If that is not done on this principle of sacrifice, what happens? The parents will start having the expectation on the children, and they will be disturbed by what children are if they're not meeting the expectation. And of course, they may be disturbed in other way with being proud if they are excelling their expectations. In either case, either that is a gold chain or an iron chain. Any expectation is either a golden chain or an iron chain. Iron chain is if they don't meet the expectation, feeling sad, and being puffed up if they meet the expectation. Both of them are chains. So that is bhunjate tu agam papa. If a responsibility is done to satisfy one's own, to gratify one's own senses or ego, then that is equal to eating sins, one's own sins. But if a responsibility is done as just a sacrifice, I'm a parent and I will have to raise these children properly. So doing the responsibility with a sense of good detachment, then muchyante sarvakal vishay, then they will not be touched, and they will not be touched by the pain and pleasure that's caused by the children, because there is no expectation there. So like that is in regards to the naimittika dharma. And here we have heard, right? Here, karma bandhana. What happens if there is an expectation in the performance of a duty? There will be karma bandhana. We will be caught up in the karma network. Karma network is the net of expectation. And they bhunjate tu agam papa, they are eating their own sins. So this is what happens when our worldly responsibility is done with attachment to the result. Attachment to the person and attachment to the result. That will make us sway. That's naimittika dharma. And in nitya dharma, bhakti, what happens when the service is done with attachment? What does that mean? Attachment to the service is good, right? Attachment to the service is good. But you see, when this is not done as a sacrifice, when the service is not done as a sacrifice, sacrifice is I am doing this service for the pleasure of the Lord. Yeah, that is principle of sacrifice. In place of that, if I start to think, I am doing this service, yeah, for the pleasure of the Lord, right? But I thought they will come and do this. How come they are not doing this? And I'm supposed to get this, and they did not give me. And how come they said that? And how come he did this and she did that? And does this happen here? Is this bhakti? I don't think this is right. Oh, blah, 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 blah. So it's not sacrifice for Vishnu anymore. This is karma network. This is bhunjate tu agam papa. This is karma bandhana. The seva is for the pleasure of the Bhagavan. Period. And anything about anyone or anything is bhunjate tu agam papa and karma bandhana. So that's something we want to keep in. And yajna shishtashina santo. Only the remnants of the sacrifice we honor. So when we do a service and we want to do it for the pleasure of the Lord, and we just keep going, and however the service goes, by depending on the Lord, then we honor. We just honor that. Like that. So in this way, we will not be karma bandhana. We will not be caught up in this network of mind. So like that. So that is about sacrifice as the principle. And the second thing this particular shloka is applied is eating prasadam, dear devotees. Why do we take prasadam? Why not we just cook and eat? Yajna shishtasina santos. Santos, the devotees accept only the remnants of yajna. When we cook and offer it to the Lord, that is considered yajna. Offering to the Lord is boga, and when the boga comes back, that is the remnant of the yajna. So only those remnants of the yajna devotees honor. Only then muchyante sarva kilbishahai. That's when all our sins will be destroyed. This is the reason why we offer even our cooking also, even the food too, to the Lord. In that way, we can be free of sins. Muchyante sarva kilbishahai. So that's what we have heard so far. Offering our naimitic karma, worldly responsibilities, offering our services, and offering the food also. That's as sacrifice as the principle on how to do naimittika karma. And next, in this way, when the work or seva or our responsibility is done on the basis of the principle of sacrifice, tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samacharam asakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. In this way, asakta satatam. This is a beautiful word, dear devotees. Asakta is not being overly attached. Not being overly attached to the external proceedings. Asakta. So performing our duty like that, with beautiful and detachment. Karyam karma samachara. So working dutifully with detachment. In this way, paramapnoti purushaha. One attains liberation or the Supreme Lord. See, when we do the seva like this, dear devotees, our service like this, at least we will be in sattva. At least sattva. Because to expect a result from outside is rajoguna. Whatever reason the mind may give, it is because of this or it is because of that person. This or that person, any external thing, when we are doing the service, if the finger is pointing outside, that's seva in rajoguna. This is why Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is saying, this is why these are beautiful building blocks. If we are vigilantly following this, then we will be close to liberation. So when our seva is done vigilantly like that, not pointing the finger out in any way, then it will be very peaceful for us. So at least the service is gone in sattva. Sattva is peace, right? Even better than that is when we are doing it for the pleasure of the Lord with so much, attachment to the Lord, then there is a lot of devotion there, regardless of external factors. There's a lot of devotion there. That is very wonderful. But if not that, at least sattva. This is what the seva means, nishkama karma yoga is. And then now Lord Krishna, after explaining it on the basis of principle of sacrifice and the result of what happens when the duty or seva is performed like that, now Lord Krishna is explaining. Okay, so somebody has perfected now. Now they don't really have any desires. They are liberated. Do they still have to do the action? Do they still have to do their duty? For that, Lord Krishna is answering. Even if it is a perfected person, they still have to do the duty. They still have to do the action. King Janaka, he was just liberated only by his performing his occupational duty. King Janaka, there was a story where Janaka Maharaj, he was on his way to Vaikunta. He wanted to stop by at Naraka, the hellish planets. So the breeze from Janaka Maharaj, when the breeze touching Janaka Maharaj has touched the hellish planets and the residents of the hellish planets, just with the breeze touched by Janaka Maharaj, they felt very liberated. All those people who were experiencing, who were undergoing all those punishments there, all of a sudden, with the touch of the breeze, for a second they felt liberated. Janaka Maharaj did not come there yet. It was only the breeze that has come, that has touched Janaka Maharaj. He was that liberated. So Lord Krishna is saying, even King Janaka performed his occupational duty. What desire did he have to do the occupational duty? Nothing. He performed it to set an example. And I am performing my duty too. If I don't perform my duty, then the whole world will go into ruin. Yat yat acharate shreshtaha tat tat eva taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Yat yat acharate shreshtaha. The shreshta, the perfect people, whatever their behavior is, tat tat eva taro janaha. The common people follow them. Sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. So they take that as a standard scale, the behavior of the perfect people, and the common people follow. So in this way, even if somebody is a perfected being, they still have to perform the duty to set an example. Common men follow great people. And that's why great people do their duty. Not because they get something for them out of doing their duty. They don't really need anything. Still they do it to set an example. That's the second point. To set an example. And this one, how does it pertain to us? This is very much pertinent for us. All of us are here, parents. Yad yad acharite sreshta tadat eva tarojana. Being a parent is being in an authoritative role for the children. So whoever is in an authoritative role, they have to be vigilant about their acharan. Because whoever are the subordinates, the children, they will follow. They will follow looking at the parents. So what we want the child to be, we have to be that first. The child will follow the parent. Child doesn't have to listen to the parent, but will follow the parent. So it is more of a parent responsibility to be what they want their child to be. Then the child will automatically be. This holds good for anybody who is in the role of a authority. So that is about yat yat acharite sreshta. And then this is to set an example. After that, now the next question is, okay, Krishna, all right. As you're saying, okay, if I want to set an example, so you are saying that because I'm a Kshatriya now and I have to set an example, so I have to go and fight. If I don't set an example performing my occupational duty, then I will be responsible for the fall down of the future Kshatriyas if they don't do their responsibility. Okay, I get it, Krishna. But what about, even if we set an example, what about people just mimic, but they don't get the principle? In other words, they just do it, but they still get attached to the result. What about that? Saktaha karmani avidvamso yada kurvanti bharata kuryat vidvams tada asaktas chikirshur loka sangraham. For that, Lord Krishna answers like that. That's expected, Arjuna. When somebody is setting an example, when a parent or a leader is setting an example, then they may do kuryad vidvams tadasaktas. They are vidvams. They are learned. So they can kuryat tadasaktas. They can perform their duty without asakta, without attachment. They can do that. Then saktah karmani avidvamso. Of course, the beginners, avidvamso, who are not learned yet, they may be saktah karmani. They may be doing action, but with attachment. At least they're doing the action. There may be attachment initially, but whoever is setting an example has to continue to do the action without attachment. So, in other words, you may set an example, others may try to follow, and they may not exactly meet the criteria. They may just do the action because you're doing it, but they may be still attached to the result, though you are not attached to the result yet. But that's natural. Because you're Vidvamsa, you are learned and they're not learned yet. That happens. You still continue to do the duty without attachment. Yeah. This, dear devotees, this is about setting an example. This, in sadhana bhakti, the first one, we have heard about the role of a parent here, right? Yat yat acharata sreshta. Even in our devotion also, when we are expecting somebody else to excel, we have to be, first we have to be what we are expecting from others. And in the beginning, saktah karmani avidvamso. So what is encouraged here is to keep the action going on, which is sakama karma yoga, basically. Yeah. So the service goes on with attachment in the beginning. But yat yat acharata sreshta tat tat eva taro janaha. And as we learn from the sreshta, from the perfected devotees, then we will also slowly become kuryad vidvams tadasaktas. We will also slowly become nishkama karma yogis. So initially there can be sakama karma, but we will also become slowly nishkama karma yoga. Here, after Lord Krishna mentioned about this, he goes to this particular one. Because these are the dynamics, initially we said, when we are doing the service outside, Lord Krishna is emphasizing here to set an example. Setting an example can be done when we are situated in tattva, when we are practicing bhakti on the platform of tattva, holding on to the intelligence, sadhu and shastra. And that's where one can set an example. Tattvavittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayoh guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. This is beautiful. So Lord Krishna is saying, this is, dear devotees, this is the bhakti. How a devotee can get to Nishita Bhakti, Nishta Bhakti, steady Bhakti, is this. By this vigilance and discrimination. Tattvavittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matvana sajjate. Tattvavit, one who knows this tattva, one who knows this knowledge of this karma yoga, and one who is vigilant to see if their karma or service is tainted by modes or not, is tainted by sense gratification or not. So when somebody is knowledgeable and vigilant inside, within, as they perform their service outside, then they will carefully, with the vigilance, discriminate between the work or service with attachment or work or service with detachment. They will carefully discriminate. And in this way, they do not engage themselves in the senses, gratification of senses. And the strongest sense is the mind, especially for the devotees, because the rest of the senses, they are regulated anyway. The unregulated sense for us, the devotees, is the mind. This is a beautiful point, dear devotees. Very subtle, finer points. Using this knowledge that we should be doing the seva on the principle of sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord, and it should not be tainted by modes or gratification. With that knowledge, being vigilant of what's happening in here, inside us, being vigilant, and then discriminate. Oh, this is seva with dirt of modes, and this is seva without any dirt. Like that, discriminate and accept only that, engage only in that is not touched by modes. It means while performing the service, we have to be vigilant of what our attitude is inside, and see that it is performed only for the pleasure of the Lord, and not be disturbed by any externals, situations or people or anything. Yeah, and that is and voluntarily, this is voluntarily not engaging in sense gratification, in the gratification of the mind. Important, dear devotees. Otherwise, we will just get stuck in the Rajoguna Bhakti. Oh, everybody says, oh, beautiful, wonderful service. Wow. Yes, I want to do this service again, exactly like this service again. We got stuck in the Rajoguna Bhakti in Rajo. We want the action should go on, the service should go on, but based on what the Lord is saying here, we have to see that we don't yield to the sense gratification. Okay. Done. And next one. Prakrite kriyamādāni gunai karmāni sarvasah ahankara vimūಢātma kartāham iti manyate. This is a shloka saying, one who is in ahamkara, they think they are doing it. An ignorant person thinks that he is the doer. By this time, we know how much ignorance we are in. When we are doing the service or when we are doing the japa like that. Ahamkara vimudatma. But the details of this will come in the next chapter, in the fourth chapter. Who are the three doers? It's not just one. Who are the three doers in the fourth chapter? Who are the five doers? That comes in the 18th chapter. So this is just a shloka like that the Lord has given a little gist of it, but he will describe that more later. Now, so Nishkama Karma Yoga, we have heard about how the principle is the sacrifice, how to set an example, and how to be situated in the Buddhi Yoga with vigilance and discrimination, and not to indulge in the sense gratification. For us, all the devotees, when we say sense gratification, it is mind gratification. Gratification means, again, as we have heard the other day, a positive gratification or negative gratification, a praise or a criticism. If we are entertaining that, that is sense gratification. So, yeah, this is more like a final statement. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasatyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudyasva vigata jvara. It is Lord Krishna, one after the other, about, he's not only giving the details, but the finer details of the dynamics, the psychodynamics that happens within us when we are performing the action outside. Finer details. Say, until now, he has said, this is how one should do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Sacrifice is to be the principle. Even if you are perfect, you still perform the duty because you have to set an example. Setting an example happens when you're a Tattvavit. So, use your knowledge, be vigilant, and then discriminate and see that you don't indulge in sense gratification, mind gratification. And also, this one shloka, yeah. Na buddhi bedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayat sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. Okay, you are doing your Nishkama Karma Yoga very nicely. Wonderful. But what if you are seeing a person, they didn't start their devotion yet. They have come and they met you. They have come and met you. And he's, in our language, they are karmis. They are karmis. They are not devotees. Yeah? Somebody, they like to take movies. They want to dance. They want to do business, or they want to whatever they do outside. Yeah. What do we tell them? We are devotees and they met us. So do we tell them, okay, what use is there? You may be a business magnate. When you die, all this money is not going to come with you. So just leave all that money aside. Come join us. Join in the temple. Yeah. Put everything aside and just sit and chant with us. Do we say that? Or somebody, say if they're in a movie industry, are you in an illusion or what? Don't we have enough illusion? We are not even this body. And on top of that, you play so many roles in the movie. Have you gone mad? Come out of that madness. Come chant with us. Do we say that? We know what happens if we say that. They will not see us again. Because they are very much attached to what they are doing. They're doing it because they like it. So they're attached to what they're doing. What do we do with those people? Na buddhi bedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam. Don't Ajnanam karma sanginam. They may be doing the action with all ignorance, but do not disturb. Do not disturb them. Joshayat sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. Vidwan, the wise people, while they continue to do their devotion, Joshayat sarva karmani. Whatever others' actions are, they help others dovetail their actions to Krishna. So if you are acting in the movies, oh, wonderful. You're a movie star. Excellent. Oh, what an action. What a performance. Wonderful. Well, did you see about little Krishna, that little documentary thing? Do you think you could do something similar to that? So because their interest is, movies, then bring Krishna into their life somehow in their interest. Dovetail their action, their interest with Krishna's. That way, they will get to know Krishna, get purified, and slowly get closer to Krishna and come to bhakti. This is the principle that Srila Prabhupada used for the whole world. The Acharya. He is a Jagat Guru Acharya. See, for the traditional, in our traditional Indian setting, cultural setting, even if they travel on the sea, they are considered outcasted. But Srila Prabhupada not only crossed the sea, he put everybody in the service of Lord Krishna. How? Dovetailing everybody's propensities in the service of Krishna. This is the verse. Na buddhi vedam janeyat ajnanam karma sanginam joshayat sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. Whatever anybody might be doing, when they met Srila Prabhupada, immediately they are somehow engaged in the seva based on their propensity, like that. This is something an acharya, no other acharya did that in the past, because they were very much restricted and regulated. So the dovetailing principle was not used much before Srila Prabhupada. He did it all throughout the world. So in this way, Lord Krishna, he has explained everything about Nishkama Karma Yoga and the psychodynamics of how it should be a principle of sacrifice. You should set an example. You should be a tattvavit when you are practicing it. So be vigilant, discriminate, and don't indulge in sense gratification. After all this, Krishna is thinking, I want to get this right for you, not just for you, Arjuna, but for everybody else. So let me say this. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudyasva vigata chwara. In this, there are 4 things. Mayi sarvani karmani. You have to perform the action. Actually, 5 things. Perform your service. Mayi, as an offering to me. Sannyasa adhyatma chetasa, with detachment. Sannyasa is with detachment. And nirashir is don't expect a result. Nirashir is looking for a result. Asha, you are expecting. So without expecting result means no passion. Nirmamo is no ahankara. Not only passion, but the mother of all the modes is ahankara. Because, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we heard about how the sarga happens. From the ahankara comes passion, ignorance, and goodness. Those 3 modes. But Lord Krishna is saying, even without ahankara, you perform it. And if you think, oh my God, this is too much. Do I have to do the service? If I have to follow all these things and do it? What if I just don't do anything at all? There also Lord Krishna caught us. Yudhyasva vigata jwara. Do your duty. Vigata jwara, without laziness. It means you can't have an excuse not doing your duty. So perform your seva or perform your duty for my sake. renouncing the result, and without expectation, nirashir, and without doership, and without laziness. He made it clear. The Lord made it clear, crystal clear. But the beauty is, dear devotees, we are just getting into the finer details in the Bhagavad Gita, because it's the chapter of Nishkama Karma Yoga. These are finer details for us. The discussion can be detailed like that. When we are doing, as long as we just keep doing the seva for the pleasure of the Lord, and all the devotees are wonderful, that's it. Keep going. Practically, that's all we need to do. Just that the Lord has given us the finer details, because this is being Tattvavit. We have to be knowledgeable about the dynamics of what can happen within our mind. Otherwise, what happens is, dear devotees, we cannot keep going in seva. We may not want to point out. We may not be pointing out our fingers to outside, but in our mind, there is a big urge to see why something is not right outside, why somebody is not right outside. Vega, manasa, vega will be there. When that vega comes within us, these are the finer details that the Lord is instructing us. This is how your vega can come down. In that case, it will be very helpful for us. That's about, yeah. And the next one is, after saying how a Nishkama Karma Yoga, duty or seva should be done, Lord Krishna is cautioning us about sense gratification. Indriyasyendriyasyarthe ragatveshau yavastitau tayor navasham agachet tayohi yasya paripantinau. Here, this is about sense gratification. Here, this is the thing, dear devotees. See, we already have 4 regulative principles. When we say 4 regulative principles, a regulated sense gratification. In Varnashrama Dharma, there is regulated sense gratification. But the caution here is, even if there is regulated sense gratification, tasmat, be careful. There is a chance to fall down, because the senses are very strong. So don't give yourself to the senses, even if it is regulated sense gratification. They can be stumbling blocks for you in the path of self-realization. That's a caution. The last one is, okay, now we know how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga, how to do our duty, our worldly responsibility or our service. Lord Krishna has given us all the details. Okay, now somebody else is doing their service wonderfully. Oh, their cooking is awesome. It's so yummy. And everybody says the cooking is so yummy. How about I also go try that service? Because everybody is saying that cooking is very yummy. Maybe if I start cooking also, everybody say that my cooking is yummy. Maybe I should go do that service. Or somebody dresses the deity so beautifully and everybody says that is so beautiful. The problem is, everybody says that is beautiful. That's why we get attracted to. It's not that, oh, this is so pleasure-giving to Krishna. Any seva is pleasure-giving to Krishna if we do with devotion. So, Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat svanushthitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaham. Shreyan swadharmo viguna. Swadharma is this. Whatever your natural inclination is, somebody is more tuned to do managerial work. Somebody is more tuned to teach. And somebody is very naturally, unstoppably tuned to do the business. They cannot stop thinking about the business. It's just very natural for them, and they should just go with it. Say if somebody is in a managerial position, and if a brahmana comes and speaks the katha, and that is very nice and is impressive, and if this managerial person starts to think, I also want to learn the shastra like that, and I also want to speak the katha like that, and if they start getting inclined to something that is not very natural of them, then that is paradharmo bhayavaha. First of all, they don't have to do it like that. But when there is a natural talent on something, why not use the same thing to Krishna instead of trying to do something else which we are not good at? Paradharmo is something which we are not good at, which is not our swabhava. So, you are a Kshatriya, Arjuna. So your natural predisposition is your occupational duty is to fight. So you should fight. You don't take up the business of a sannyasi like that. Don't imitate others. So 2 points here. One is whatever uh, our natural dharma, whatever Krishna has given to us, through that we serve. We don't have to do somebody else seva. We could just do ours and offer this to the Lord. That's in the Nitya Dharma. In Naimatika Dharma, when it comes to the outside worldly things, if you are good at business, just go ahead with the business. And if you are good with the numbers, go for engineering. You don't become a doctor. You will be miserable. And if you're not good with the numbers and you want a medicine, you just become a doctor. So whatever your natural inclination is, you just pursue that. Shreyan swadharmo viguna, like that. And the second thing here is, don't imitate others. This is one thing that's useful to us, dear devotees. There is anukarana and anusarana. Anukarana is doing exactly what others do. Is not natural and it can be dangerous. Like Srila Prabhupada is a Mahabhagavata. He can just chant, sitting, standing, walking, looking around also, he can chant and he can be with Krishna. And if we start doing like that, sit in the park, looking around, sitting, standing, walking around and chant Krishna, how will be our japa? And if we say Srila Prabhupada also does and did that, that is imitation. So we don't do the anukarana. Karana is doing. We don't do exactly. We don't imitate others. We do anusarana. We follow others. We don't imitate others. Because their place is different. And their place is different. And if we try to imitate, we will stumble and fall down. So we just follow what they say based on our realization and whatever our natural position is at that point of time, based on our realization and our strength, we simply follow what they say. That is anusarana, right? Okay, so that's all about Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then Arjuna's question is, this is very wonderful, Krishna, Nishkama Karma Yoga. And yes, one has to do their occupational duty. And I have a question, Krishna. What is it that force that stops one from doing their dharma and pushes them to do a sinful action? See, in the Vedic system, not doing their occupational duty is considered sin. Here, Arjuna is in this position. He's a Kshatriya and he's supposed to do his occupational duty. But he's thinking, what is it that is in me that is stopping me from doing this fight? So he posed that question. And Lord Krishna says immediately, Kamesha Krodesha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vitti Ena Ihavairinam. Oh, Arjuna. Yeah, simple answer, Arjuna. It is the lust. Kamesha Krodesha Rajoguna Samudbhava. It is the lust that is born from passion and which will lead to wrath. This is the reason why someone does not want to do their dharma, occupational duty. And this is the eternal enemy, Arjuna. And for us, this is the reason why one does not take up bhakti, process of bhakti. Because bhakti means slowly getting away from sense gratification. If somebody is not getting attracted to bhakti, they're towards the lust, sense gratification. Why are they not getting attracted towards bhakti? Because kamesha, krodesha. They still have that strong sense gratificatory tendency. And how thick can be that lust? Dhumenavriyate vahnir yadha darsho malena cha yadho ulbane avruto garbhas tadate ne idam avratam. This, Lord Krishna is saying, this lust, material attachment, can be in 3 degrees. It can be as thick as an embryo that is covered by the womb. Yada ulbano avrato garbhas. And little less thicker than that is yada darsho malena cha, mirror covered by the dust. And thinner amongst all this is dhumena avrite vahnir, fire covered by smoke. So in this way, there are degrees of lust in different living entities, Arjuna. Remember, dear devotees, what are those living entities with these different degrees? You know, Chetana, Avritta Chetana, Sankuchita Chetana, Mukulita Chetana, Vikasita Chetana, Purna Vikasita Chetana. We heard that in the past, right? So this last embryo covered by womb is Avritta Chetana, a very shrunken consciousness, like the trees, and mirror covered by dust. That is Avritta Chetana and Sankuchita Chetana. Sankuchita Chetana is shrunken, is like, you know, the birds and bees. Birds and bees, and fire covered by smoke, a little lesser than the rest of it is Mukulita Chetana, budding consciousness, human beings. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. So these are the different degrees like that. How shrunken is the consciousness, so much will be the sense gratification, like that. And is this pertinent to us, dear devotees? Cheto darpana marjanam, the dust on the mirror. See, embryo covered by womb. This is more like so thick, huh? And in the initial stages of our bhakti, this is more like mirror covered by the dust. Mirror covered by the dust. Because at least we took up the process of bhakti. And gradually, when that aham mameti dust goes away, our sense gratification also goes away. The fire covered by smoke is almost no covering, right? For fire, you can still see have the light and the heat. And that's the thinnest one. That's in the stage of asakti bhava, where there are no anarthas anymore. Only anartha vasana, no anarthas in that stage, like that. And warning that Lord Krishna is giving. Oh, okay, lust is there. Can we do something about it? Maybe if we satisfy that a little bit, then it will stay quiet. No. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. It is never satisfied. Lust is never satisfied. Desire is never satisfied, dear devotees. We may think, oh, we have become devotees. We know what desires we have, even within the devotion. The desires are never satisfied. In the second chapter also, how beautifully Lord Krishna said, Apuryamanam achalam pratishtam samudramapaha pravishanti sarve. All the rivers, they come with agitation and enter into the ocean. But the ocean stays gambhira. Ocean stays steady. Sashantimapnoti na kama kami. Only when the agitation is absorbed and controlled like that, sashantimapnoti, one will achieve peace. Nakama kami, not by fulfilling the desires. By fulfilling the desires, one will not be peaceful. Only by absorbing the agitation and remaining steady, peace can be achieved. This is important, dear devotees, very important. Starting with gross sense gratification, even with the taste also. Yes, we take prasad only, offered to Krishna only, but even in that, so much of pulling can be there. And when there is so much of pulling externally, where can be the pulling internally? When will that happen internally? So like that, for all the senses, there are, and that is never satisfied. Unless we put a stop there, they are never satisfied. That's something that we should remember. So for us, dear devotees, when this word lust comes, it's not like, oh, physical lust, that's far out there. We are initiated, we have regulated principles, but it's all about the mind. The last one. Oh my goodness. Lord Krishna said, Kame, Kamesha Krodesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava, Mahashana Mahapatma. Oh my God, so lust is like that. It will lead to wrath. And it is sitting within us. Oh, we need to get rid of it. We have to conquer this enemy. And this enemy cannot be ever satisfied. So where is this lust seated? Krishna, can you please tell us? So we can try to address that and maybe conquer it with your help by surrender. So where is the lust seated? Because we have to know where the enemy is seated to conquer. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadishtanam uchyate etairvimohayati esha jnanamavritya dehinam. Oh, you want to know where the lust is seated? Well, indriyani, in your senses. Mano, here, mind is separated. In your mind. And also in the intelligence. So this is where the lust is seated. Oh my dear, so how do I start conquering this enemy? Tasmatvam indriyani adau niyamya bharatarshaba papmanam prajahienam jnana vijnana nashanam. Tasmatvam indriyani adau. First regulate the senses. Why are you saying first regulate the senses, Krishna? The lust is sitting in the senses, in the mind and in the intelligence. Then what about the lust sitting in the mind and intelligence if it is just the senses? Because here is the hierarchy of these faculties. Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhyo param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. Lust is seated in all these places, but this is the hierarchy. Superior to the dull matter, superior to the body is the senses, superior to the senses is the mind. More powerful than the mind is the intelligence. Superior to mind is the intelligence, and superior to the intelligence is the soul. So this is the hierarchy. Here, dear devotees, Lord Krishna is saying, first control the regulate the senses. That's the instruction. So that's why we have this four regulatory principles. Our mind is somewhere else, somewhere else, somewhere else. Everywhere else except with Krishna when we start bhakti. And But still, with the 4 regulative principles, the senses are controlled. And the intelligence, oh, hardly there. Even if we are hearing Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, that is also still not going inside what to speak about the intelligence. But still the senses are controlled. So that's something that's there in our hands that we can do, is control the senses. Ekadasi. Really want to eat something. You are cooking all kinds of food, but you really want it. No, control the senses. It's Ekadasi, no pizza. Even if you want to eat, control, because it's something there in our hands. So controlling, regulating the senses is the first thing, because it's hard to control the mind and it's hard to strengthen the intelligence. It takes time. So first regulate the senses. This is what Bhagavad Gita is saying. Srila Prabhupada has taken a whole different turn on this devotees. You know what Srila Prabhupada said? This is very beautiful. And this is the last point of the Katha today, but very beautiful one. Srila Prabhupada says, with the intelligence from the Shastra, you should know that you are the servant of the Supreme Lord. So you should bring your mind to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and the senses will be automatically controlled. This is the take of Acharya. Strengthen your intelligence with the Shastra that you are a spirit soul, and so bring your mind in submission to the super soul, Bhagavan, then the senses will be controlled. That is very wonderful, very wonderful. For somebody who has that big faith, and they will be able to do that, beautifully do that. But in the interim, if we are needing some time to get there, then what we need to do is control the senses voluntarily, because it's something that we can do. And second thing is, the mind can be big. Oh, it can sway us here and there. It means the mind is louder. So we should voluntarily increase our intelligence, strengthen our intelligence with Shastra and Sadhu Vani. So much so that the intelligence becomes louder than the mind. As the intelligence becomes louder than the mind, for the devotees, intelligence is Shastra and Sadhu Vani. As the intelligence becomes louder, then we get closer to Krishna. Like that. That's all. And the last question Arjuna is saying is, oh, this is very good. How to steady the mind? We have just discussed. Prabhupada said it all. But Arjuna's question is, how do you steady the mind? And Lord Krishna's answer is, you steady the mind with spiritual intelligence, as we have just discussed. You control the senses first, and then comes the mind. But how to steady the mind? You steady deliberately, applying the spiritual intelligence. You should steady the mind. Okay, now that I brought up this spiritual intelligence, the significance of the spiritual intelligence, the 4th chapter begins with that. Adhyatmika Jnana, the spiritual knowledge. That's all the devotees. So that's the whole 3rd chapter. And let's recollect what we have heard today. I think this is a good one, this slide, so you can look at this too. So this is what we have discussed today. This is what we have heard. We heard about why to do Nishkama Karma Yoga, because it is unnatural not to do any karma, and that's why we should do our duty action. And this is the continuation of 2nd chapter. We have heard the other reasons there also, but in today's class, this is what we have heard. And how to do Nishkama Karma Yoga, how to do our responsibility, or how to do our service. Sacrifice is the principle. Set an example. Be a tattvavit. Situate in the knowledge. It means We have heard the knowledge from Bhagavan. So we be vigilant to observe what's going on in our thought. Be vigilant, discriminate, and voluntarily stay away from sense gratification, mental gratification. In this way, we continue the Nishkama Karma Yoga, responsibility for service. And the seva is to be done for the pleasure of the Lord, a responsibility to be done as an offering to the Lord. Nirashir, with no expectation. Nirmamo, with no doership. Vigata jvara, without laziness. And while we continue to do our devotional service, we engage others by dovetailing their propensity. And also, we only pursue what our natural inclination is. We don't have to imitate two things here, swadharma. Whatever is our natural inclination or talent or service, we just continue that. We don't take up others' propensity. And second thing is, we don't imitate great people, but we just follow them. No anukarana, only anusarana. Follow their instruction based on our capability and realization. And Lord Krishna says, after explaining all this, Arjuna, I have explained you all this. If you follow it, you will be free from bondage. If you don't follow it, you'll be fooled and ruined. That also he makes it clear. Then Arjuna asks this question. This is very wonderful, Krishna, but what is it that pushes somebody to do sinful act? Then it is lust, Arjuna. Oh, is that so? Oh yeah, lust. This of 3 degrees. And can this be satisfied? No, never. Lust can never be satisfied. Don't even try that. You just have to voluntarily put a stop there. Oh, where is this seated, Krishna? It's in the senses, mind, and intelligence. What to do the first step? Senses, control. Sense control first. Why not others? Because this is the hierarchy. Senses is easy to do because it's in your hands. And slowly, you strengthen your intelligence, spiritual intelligence, then the mind will be controlled. That's all we have heard today, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you all. The whole